So, whatever it is that brings you here today, I want you to know that you're not alone. Stress is one of the most pervasive conditions of the 21st century. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, there's an excellent book by Gabor Mate called The Body Keeps the Score. And this book links stress to a number of modern day conditions, particularly those that cause mental or physical exhaustion. Now, a high percentage of the people that I speak to through my own work talk about experiencing this sense of an endless to-do list, this endless worry and always feeling on edge. And they're the people who are quite aware. I also come across people who are permanently angry or irritable or exhausted, and they don't really know how to tackle it. But the truth about stress is that it's supposed to be good for us. It's the body's way of ramping up our system in response to a challenge. Now, if you've ever strived to meet a deadline or to do something new, you'll know how powerful it is to experience that adrenaline-fueled energy. It makes us feel alert, focused, and we feel absolutely on it. So where does it go wrong? Where is that tipping point? Now, I want to rewind to the last time I was completely wiped out by stress. And I found myself walking around, hours and hours of walking, because I wanted to get rid of this energy. I felt like I needed to solve something. I felt like I needed to do something. And I actually ended up going around the streets, looking at different places I could live so I could really dumb down my life. I wanted to withdraw from work, to sell up, and to just make my life simpler. My mind was so full of thoughts that I literally couldn't focus on anything. And I got this sense that my brain was trying to move things around. It was trying to make decisions, but it just couldn't. It was like it was all clogged up. And the thoughts were very, very repetitive. They were all problem solving, but they went round and round with no real conclusion. And the worst of it was, I felt like I had tons of stuff to do, but I just couldn't get anything done because my brain couldn't make a decision. It couldn't process any of the stuff that I needed to move on. So I realized that my mind wasn't functioning properly, and I realized that I just couldn't sweep it under the carpet. I couldn't just carry on and pretend nothing was happening. I had to do something to deal with it. So I made an appointment at my doctor's, and he signed me off work with debility. What a fabulous word. It literally means inability. I was unable to function. Now, I knew my body needed to rest. I felt like it was screaming out for rest. But there was one more thing that I had to do before I could allow myself to start to switch off. I had to ring my boss. Now, we're all different, but for me, this was absolutely mortifying. You know, we spend years, don't we, putting together these CVs that have this outward appearance of success and capability. And I really felt like I couldn't do my job. I felt embarrassed and I felt mortified. I felt ashamed. Now, my boss was very understanding, but it did leave me with some questions for myself. Why could everybody else cope? How come everybody else just seemed to get on with life? What was wrong with me? Why couldn't I just get on with things like everybody else? Now, the reason my mind went down this route was because I started to see a pattern. I'd been here before. Now, in 2013, the World Health Organization hadn't categorized the term burnout. So in the past, I'd had similar symptoms and I'd been diagnosed with depression. But that didn't really feel like the right diagnosis. There was a physical, mental, and emotional element to what I was experiencing, but most of all, I noticed the physical exhaustion. I felt physically drained, and although I explained this to the doctor, I was told that this was something that the mind was creating. And I couldn't get out of bed. I felt so heavy, and the smallest of tasks, they just seemed like a massive amount of effort. Now, not only did I feel completely wiped out, I also had all of this time stuck with my own mind, stuck with all of those thoughts. I worried about my career. I worried about what people would think. I worried about whether I'd ever work again. And I wondered whether I should just give it all up and really play my life small, dumb everything down, and just really walk away from everything. And here's the really tricky thing, because we build our lives and we build our lifestyle based on our earning capacity. And when we face into moments like this, where our health is at risk mentally or physically, it can feel like a house of cards just ready to come tumbling down the minute we step off that treadmill. Now, after some time, some rest, I went back to work, but I didn't want this threat of burnout hanging over me. And I also just didn't want to be one of those people that just dreams of the weekend or dreams of retirement. I wanted to wake up full of energy, looking forward to the day ahead. Now, something that had occurred to me whilst I'd had all of this time off, all of this time to think, stuck in my own head, and I began to wonder whether this constant worrying, this constant processing of thoughts had anything to do with this sense of burnout, whether I was actually exhausting myself through this process. So I decided to do a little bit of research. So I qualified as a life coach and I qualified as an NLP practitioner, but I didn't really feel like this was cutting it. I didn't feel like it really got to the heart of the matter. And then the weirdest thing happened. I was lying on the couch one evening watching Inspector Morse, as we do. And it took me back to a time that I lived in Oxford, and I absolutely loved the city. And it got me thinking about whether I could wangle myself on a course to get myself down to Oxford and start spending some time in the city. So I began to search for courses related to the mind. And I came across a really interesting course. I thought it ticked all of the boxes, looked really, really intriguing, but I didn't have the entry criteria. But it did pique my interest, and I did a little bit more research and I found another course, and I ended up signing up for an 8-week course with Bangor University. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is that because during this course, this is when I had a really, really profound experience. I've been doing the course homework and using the techniques to work with the body and mind in a particular way. And at the end of one of the sessions, I got up off the couch and I walked into the kitchen and I stopped. I stopped in my tracks because I realized that I had this stillness in my mind. My mind had just stopped. And I can't remember the last time I ever felt this sense of calm. And it was so blissful that I just wanted to cling on to it. And I got this sense that the minute I started to think, it would just stop and all of this stillness would go away. And of course it did. Because when you follow this course, you'll realize that that's exactly how our minds work. But it motivated me. It motivated me to go and do some more research. I wanted to know whether it was possible to create this feeling of stillness, to stop this busyness in the mind, and to stop that sense of just being washed along with life. I wanted to know whether this constant thought really did contribute to this sense of exhaustion and burnout. So after 5 years of research and an investment of around £16,000, I did find some answers, and I applied these tools for myself, and I also extended it to a research group as part of my final year's study with Aberdeen University. I took a research group and I guided them step by step through these very techniques, and every single person was able to implement the techniques, able to manage their stress in a better way, and able to build some emotional resilience and some emotional balance. Now, that course is called Mind 21, and I still offer that course today. So you might be asking yourself, if I've got a course called Mind 21, why have I created another stress reduction course? And the answer is really, really simple. A lot of people sign up to Mind 21 with the best intentions. They want to complete the course and they want to manage their stress. But they find that the 30-minute commitment for 21 days is too much, and it can develop a real mental block around that time. Particularly, I think, if we're experiencing stress or experiencing overwhelm, it just feels like another thing to do. So this course is a lot shorter, And my wish for you is that within an hour, you'll have real insight into stress management. You'll have guided tools to support you, and you'll start to understand how these techniques begin to shape and mold the neural pathways connected with stress management. So in addition to having access to these tools that will help with stress management, you're beginning on a path that has a long-lasting effect on the mind and the body. Now, once you sign up, you have lifetime access to the course, so you can come back as often as you need to and revisit the material. You can use it as and when you need to. So if you're ready to use my guidance to follow the techniques that have helped me with stress management, emotional resilience, and emotional balance, sign up below and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for listening and take care.